Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of The View from the Booth. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to start again because, you're used to me by now. The View from the Booth podcast. I am Mo Stewart. If you aren't used to me, hello. This is the podcast where we talk to DJs, tell them about their feelings in the booth, outside the booth, and around the booth. And so far, the response has been fantastic from you guys. But in all honesty, we've just had a row of middle-aged guys. And that's all fine, because those are the people who I'm friends with, because I am one too. But we need to open it up before. We need to get a range of ideas and thoughts into this. And so I thought, who better to bring in than one of the brightest up-and-coming DJs playing around in Liverpool right now. You might have seen her at the Invisible Wind Factory. You might have seen her at Kitchen Street. You might have seen her at a few festivals across the summer as well. So if you haven't heard her, you should get to know her, just as you're about to do. So Nikki Chong, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Mo. I'm really excited. I've never done a podcast before, so yeah.
Well, I mean, despite the fact we are in a studio, essentially this is just a conversation. So I know that talking about music is something you've done before, because it's pretty much what all of us do at some point. But
yes.
I'll start with the easiest question.
Go on.
This weekend just passed, you were playing at Bluedot Festival.
Yes. So,
What's that?
honestly, so that was probably the muddiest festival I've ever been to. I was very lucky. I only bought rain boots, or like Wellingtons or whatever you call them. Like literally like the day before. I was like, well, just pack these just in case. But honestly, like, it was bad. Like, it was just people were just soaked. And like, I'd only just bought a raincoat as well. So it was an amazing show. I had loads of familiar faces. Like, you'd know all the people from Invisible Wind Factory and the Casimir. So had people like Dog Show, Benno, Alien Is, and a few of my friends. Lots of familiar Liverpool people on that stage. But the only problem was basically it was open air. So there was no tent, which meant that basically the dance floor became a lake. So it was quite difficult to get any kind of vibe going, because there was literally just no one there. We were also on at the same time as too many DJs. So that would have meant that a lot of people would have just been over there and not for me and my mate's set. That's just how it is when you're a smaller DJ. You just kind of go, this is an amazing opportunity, but at the same time, like, understandably so, people will be at other areas. But yeah, we stayed the night, and then we had to leave because I was also DJing at Secret Garden Party down like Cambridge ways. But we basically got stuck in the mud, so we had to get a tractor to tow us out so we could actually drive home. So that was a bit of a mission. And I heard that they actually had to cancel all of Sunday's tickets, which is a shame.
Yeah, it was no day entry. It was just, if you're already there,
then fine. Yeah. But apparently the headliner was Grace Jones. So that's really disappointing for whoever wanted to come on Sunday. I felt really bad for everyone. I mean, you can't really plan for that much kind of rain. I think everyone kind of panics.
That's the funny thing, isn't it? You think about a festival set and how long you'd have time thinking about it and preparing for it, and so much of how it went would have been determined by things completely out of your control.
Yes, yeah. I think the set would have gone a little bit differently. Having said, if the weather was sunny, I think a lot of people would be, more inclined to coming to an outdoor stage. But, it is what it is. It was still a really great time. And Secret Garden Party was just as great. It was like the Shindigger stage, which was like, it's like a beer company in the UK. But the stage itself was like, you had to like walk up to it, and it was like a skull and then like a hot air balloon. And I don't think I could ever dream of playing in something like that. So it was quite exciting.
You get some pictures.
Yeah. That's definitely, like, if you want to go on my Instagram, it's on there. But yeah, it was cool. We just stayed out for a little bit, watched a few of the acts, and then we actually ended up driving all the way home. So,
So did you get some time to actually enjoy the festival on either of them then?
So not really. Bluedot we didn't really, because the rain, genuinely the rain was bad. And I think because we had so many people on that stage that were our friends, we felt bad going anywhere else, because, they were there to support us and we're there to support them. And, from a local level, I think, like, local DJs need your support more so than the big people. So, it's good to be part of a community like that. So, for Bluedot, we were definitely around all our friends. We got a little bit of Secret Garden Party. My favorite actor was Henge. Yeah, there I didn't know what to expect because it was my friend's recommendation to go and see them, but honestly, it was one of the best things I've ever seen. It was the highlight of the weekend.
I saw Henge at Glastonbury. In fact, they played on the Truth stage. For those of you who listened to the last edition, Jamie Chicken, he was the stage manager.
Unreal.
And he was very much like, whatever you're doing, come see Henge. And
yes.
We had a big crew there. And it was spectacular.
Yeah, it's a must see. Yeah, for sure. I think they're actually going to play at Kitchen Street in November, and I saw that come up on my feed, and I was like, wow. This is a great time for Liverpool. So yeah,
I'm absolutely not going to tell you anything about what they're like as an artist or as a musician. You find out for yourself.
Yes,
definitely.
Oh yeah, it was great. But yeah, so that was my weekend. A very rainy one. Happy to be home, but yeah, a 5-day bender at 31 is not my best idea.
But it's part of the work life, isn't it? I think when you're at the stage where you are trying to break through, trying to become known, particularly if you're at the stage where you still have to do other jobs, which I believe you are.
Yes.
That is kind of part of what you have to give away, isn't it? Some of the fun.
Yeah.
It turns a bit into a job as a bit more than you'd like sometimes.
Yes. It's a difficult one because I think, not to get too deep, but I think, like there's also always kind of that conversation around DJing and partying and stuff like that. And, especially when you're a smaller DJ like myself, a lot of it is networking. And the networking comes part and parcel with all the alcohol and everything else that happens with that. And, so when you're smaller, you kind of want to be out there and networking, but, at the same time, you got to think about your health. And yeah, job-wise, I have 2 other jobs. I work in a restaurant and I work for a company called Adlib, which do like lighting, audio, visual stuff for festivals and stuff like that. So I am really busy. But, we make it work. I wouldn't have it any other way. I like being busy, so.
I mean, there's also the passion of the music. I mean, I'm assuming that is a big part of why you're willing to put yourself through all these things. Yes. So let's rewind it back a little bit. Where did all of this begin? Where did the drive, not just to music, but also to wanting to play music?
I think I always loved music since I was a kid. Like I started, when I was a kid, I was doing ballet for a long time. So classical music was always a thing, and being on time and on beat or whatever you want to call it. My parents were always very musical. Like my mom played piano, my dad played guitar, my sister played clarinet. So very musical family. And then kind of moved on to just liking music and liking indie music, and then went through my emo phase, of course. And then I went to work for a nightclub as a lighting technician. I just pressed buttons. I didn't do anything special, by the way. Nothing special. But I kind of, from that's kind of where my love for like electronic music kind of started, which was quite cool. But yeah, I basically one year I entered a DJ competition, and that's kind of where this all kind of kicked off. But basically every state in Australia, so that's where I'm from, by the way, if you didn't know, basically they would pick all these winners from each state, and I ended up winning. Which was quite cool. And the prize was a gig overseas, like at a festival, all expenses paid for. Yeah. So I didn't think I was going to win. So I was like, oh my God, this is intense. And then I ended up getting Snowbombing Festival as my gig. So yeah. So like, the small town Gold Coast DJ that knows hardly anything is playing at, in the slopes. So I was on the same stage as Melee, Camel Fat. I can't remember who else now, but yeah, that was back in like 2018. And
this was what, your second, third gig?
No, so I didn't explain that very well, but basically the DJ competition, he had like 6 weeks of just DJ training. And after the DJ training, everyone had to play like a 25-minute set live at a club. And then that's what I won from. So I hadn't really played out to anyone really. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think like, being the lighting technician kind of helps, and being in the club environment really helped, because I was always kind of like listening to tunes on the weekend, and listening to an array of people, and I was always around the right type of people, if that makes sense. Like I think I've said it before, but community is such a big thing. I think, when you find people that love music as much as you do, you kind of feed off each other a bit. So I was very lucky with that. But yeah, after I won, I ended up getting a residency at the club that I played with. I was doing the lighting stuff at. So I did every Sunday for a while, and that's kind of where I learnt most of my skills in terms of building a night and stuff like that. Which is that I can go on another tangent here about the scene here.
Oh, please.
It's
go on as many tangents.
It's really different here. But what happened was basically after I did the set at Snowbombing, I was like, oh my God, this is unreal. I've never experienced something like this in my entire life. Like, whoa, like hanging out with all these famous people. Like I remember seeing like Peggy Goo and Jack Master in the lobby of this hotel, and I was like, whoa, I can't believe I'm in the same place as like these amazing people that like, anyway. So after that I was like, I just need to do this more. And so I kept at it in Australia, and then basically I kind of was like, what am I going to do now? Like, what could I possibly do with the music that I like? Because I really love techno music, and there wasn't too much of a scene where I'm from. And I was like, well, if I move to the UK, I may as well just see how it goes. You know, I don't have any debt. I don't have kids. Nothing holding me back. If it doesn't work, I can come back home, see what happens. And I knew that London would be too intense for me because I'm from like a smaller town. And I just said, Liverpool sounds great. And at the time, my boyfriend at the time was from here. So, it all kind of made sense for me to come to Liverpool. And I've never really looked back. It's been the best thing for me. But yeah, it's very different here. The scene is, like I said, I was a resident at the club that I worked at. So that meant playing from like 9 to 3 on a Sunday and kind of building the night over a few hours. Whereas like here, you kind of get booked for events and you only get booked for like an hour and a bit, maybe. And it's always, it's just a different way of working.
It is. I mean, I say that as someone who does have one of those kind of residencies here, and it always kind of hits me when I do try to go into your world. Like, for example, when I was at Glastonbury and I was having to try and think of 6 hours worth of music and put it into 90 minutes. It's just a completely different mindset. So, I mean, that's kind of how we first encountered you, basically coming into Motel.
Smashed it.
You didn't need to say.
But no, living legend at Motel, love it.
But I mean, obviously, when you're trying to think about sets and stuff like that, and trying to put together music, being in that having the ability, to have a regular once a week, build up that residency, build up the good habits. That is, how crucial was that to everything else?
I mean, yeah, it honestly, like, I don't think that I'd be the same DJ that I am today without all of that. I think it's like that is your really important vocation, and I think sometimes when I watch DJs. And, not to name names or anything like that, but, you can tell the people who have the experience as a resident DJ, like whether it's, a 6-hour club or like bar thing, because like even like a bar set is different to like a club set. Yeah. But I think, what the club that I worked at taught me was like dialing back the energy and not having to be like full pelt all the time. And, they kind of taught me that, anyone can play a headline set and just bang it out and people will love it. But if you can really curate like a proper warm up and actually understand the energy of like and the journey of a night, it just makes your DJing skills a whole lot better. And I can see it a lot more and I, like I said, I've got friends that do all those kind of sets and they're just far better DJs than people who potentially don't do those kind of things and don't. And that's what I meant by like the scene's different here. Like I don't think there's a lot of space for people to learn that way. Yeah.
I mean, and that has changed since I started, because I think a lot of the bars that I was able, like for example, my first residency was a Monday night, and at that point, Monday night wasn't really anything, and then suddenly they had Carnage student nights coming on Monday, and so it became everything. But they didn't mind. They were like, just do your thing on a Monday night, and frankly, there's just less bars around.
Yeah.
Need to do that, and some of them are only open at certain times. So
yeah,
it's more difficult now. I think the landscape, just in general.
I 100% agree. I think the landscape is a bit weird as well. I think it all kind of it's a difficult topic because a lot of it has to do with like people's attention span, I would say as well. You know, like back in the day, you could listen to a 6-minute track and people would be there with you the entire time. But I'm finding that a lot of people want like quick transitions and don't want to listen to the whole track. And they're just like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Oh, there's a drop. Okay, what's the next thing? And so I think DJing in itself has kind of changed. And obviously there's a lot more effects you can use and a lot more, you know, technique you can use, like I would say. So I think like, yeah, attention span's a lot to do with it. But yeah, the landscape has definitely changed. But this is the thing, like whenever I DJ, I do tend to play most of the track as it's meant to be heard, because I think like there is intention in people's ability to make music. So like when I play it, it's like that's how it's supposed to be. So I do try and honor that a lot in my sets. But it's not everyone's cup of tea.
I do that. I'm the same. It's more often than not, if I'm playing a song, it's because I like the song.
Yeah.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, 100%. No, definitely.
And maybe that's selfish, but it comes from a place, I think, of trying to make people who are listening like the song as well. And
yeah.
That's pretty much fundamentally what we're all doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, yeah. I don't know what else to say about that. It's just, yeah, attention span, I think, is a big, difficult part of not just the musical landscape. I think it's the whole everything. It's like a broader topic, but yeah, that's definitely something that I would say has had a huge impact on music. And you know, if you look at all the DJs and producers, like it's like, oh yeah, bring out a hit. Oh yeah, when's the next one? And it's like, you know, people used to bring out albums. You know, like I think back to like the Prodigy and stuff like that, and they brought out albums, and then you'd not hear from them for a while, and then another album. Whereas now it's like, oh no, just bring out a single. Oh no, bring out just another single. Oh yeah. Make it only 2 minutes long. It doesn't need to be 8 minutes. And it's just like, it's just a changing scene, and it's whether or not you jump on the bandwagon or not, and how much of history do you kind of bring along with you, I would say.
Well, no, that's the thing, really, isn't it? For someone like you say, you're still actively trying to get gigs, trying to get festival booked. How much do you go with this? And essentially, well, it's part trend, part evolution, really. And how much of it do you think, oh, well, people get sick of this soon, and so there's no point me throwing myself into it? And how much do you think, well, I want to be myself, I want to be true to myself as a DJ and hope that people want that?
Oh, I don't know. I think like the older I've gotten, the more confident I've become in like what I want to do or how I want to come across as a DJ. I don't know. It's one of them ones where I have days where I'm like, oh, I hate it. I hate social media. I hate that like a lot of this is driven by social media. And then other days I'm like, oh no, I can do this. I can jump on the bandwagon. You know, but it is difficult, you know, like do I really have the time to like sit down and make a whole video about how much, like a get ready with me to DJ, and like do I have time or the personality for it? I don't know. Some days I do, and it works out really well for me, and then other days I'm just like, I cannot be bothered, and I'd rather put my energy into making the mix really, really good rather than all the external things. And sometimes, you know, like not, and like I'm not trying to be vain, but like sometimes I wish that it wasn't the image of me as a woman, as like a person of color, as part of like the imagery and part of like a selling point for gigs and stuff like that. Like I understand that there is, you know, a major push for people of color and women in the industry, and I love that, and I'm not trying to take anything away from that at all. But you know, if I wasn't all these things, would I be booked? And I would love to know, because for me it's like, I would want to be booked because you think that I'm talented or you think that I make sense on the lineup, rather than all these external factors that like I don't really have control over.
Yes.
But at the same time, like I said, it's still very, very important, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. I mean, at the same time, you don't want that to be the reason for your opportunity, but at the same time, you want to have the opportunity, get into that place, and then prove to them that, oh no, she's there because she's a good.
Yeah. And like sometimes it's really obvious when I'm the booking that to tick a box. It does happen. I don't particularly like it, but at the same time I'm like, well, I'm still going to take that opportunity. So it's one of them. It's, you know, it's a double-edged sword in a way. But like I say, like, you know, very much I think DJing and all that kind of stuff has become very much like a visual thing rather than substance. You know, I look at a lot of DJs and maybe I'm envious, and maybe it's like an ego thing, and maybe I'm envious of what other people have. But people who are really amazing on social media seem to have this better trajectory than people who don't. I mean, I don't really know a DJ these days that can have success without it, because everyone's always like, make sure you promo this, make sure it's out here, make sure it's out there. And, back in the day, it wasn't even about who was the DJ on the night. You would just go because you knew that there would be good music at that club. Yeah. And so that's why I think the landscape is a bit different.
It is different. I mean, I find that myself. Like, I admonish myself when I haven't done enough. Or, for example, if someone comes up to me and says, oh, yeah, really enjoyed the night. If I didn't tell them, oh, well, you can find me on blah, blah, blah. And I mean, even with the show, like, essentially, we have to, anything that we think is good and we want to be successful, we have to kind of go down those channels, whether we like it or not. It's just how much of yourself you allow it to take up, I think.
No, that is true. I mean, like I said, I'm a very, very busy person. So sometimes social media is probably one of like the last things on my mind. But at the same time, I understand how important it is. But also it's like, when there's months where I don't have gigs, it's really difficult because you don't have anything to promote. So you're just like, what do I even post? Like, are people even going to be interested? Like, oh, got a shift at the restaurant. That's just not as interesting as like, oh my God, I'm playing at Blackstone Warehouse. Like I've genuinely had some amazing opportunities as a DJ. And so that's like, sometimes it's just such a high. So sometimes it's like one day you're like, oh yeah, I'm supporting Bicep. And then the next minute you're just like doing your laundry in your house. So it's like, it's quite funny how life can be like that.
No, I think this is one of the things that I think people don't understand the most, is that those highs, when you have them on a social media page and you're scrolling through, they look fantastic, but they're stressed out. There's
absolutely.
Space and things happening in between those. And sometimes you can feel like it's hard to keep momentum going and get the next one off the back of the last one. Because sometimes, like for example, this weekend, you played two fantastic, usually known festivals, literally on the same weekend.
Yeah, literally. I was like, oh my God, am I a superstar DJ? Two festivals in like one weekend? That is unheard of for me. So, it was very rewarding, I would say. And obviously we actually got like a buggy to one of the stages. Oh, really? Yeah, so I always feel like a bit of a diva when I'm on a buggy, because it's like, wow, look at me, I'm on a buggy. So, that was fun. So I definitely felt like, oh, wow, this is really, really exciting. But, if I could do this full time, that would be amazing. I think it's just very competitive. And, I think when you get to my kind of level, you're kind of still finding your feet a bit in terms of like production and stuff like that. There's not many people who can go further without having that element of production. And just because I've got so much other things going on in my life, it just always sits on the back burner, and I feel dead bad about it, because I've been saying I wanted to produce for like 6 years and just never got there. And I don't know whether it's like a fear thing of like the fear of the unknown, and like I know that like it'd be like a long, like the learning curve would be quite hard, I would say, to learn how to produce and making ideas come to life. I think that's kind of what's holding me back. It's just a bit of fear, guys. How do I get over fear?
I would say if you have the means to do it easily, as in if you have a space and a laptop and maybe a little bit more time than you have now,
no,
I think I would just start doing it. Like genuinely, all of the things in my life where I've been nervous about, am I good enough to do this? Can I do this? Once I started doing it, I felt a lot better about it than I did before I started.
That is actually very true. That's good. That is good advice. To be fair, I should just start. To be fair, like I don't. There's nothing really holding me back, besides maybe time. But I should just make time. To
Sometimes be fair, the idea that you have is just so good that you have to do it. I mean, in my entire DJ career, I've constructed 3 mashups and 1 remix, I think, and all of them were ideas I had. I was just like, this is too good. I can't let this idea go. I have to play this out. I have to find a way to play this out. So maybe that's what it takes. Maybe you're just going to find a tune or a remix or an idea that you can just like, okay, I need to hear this.
Well, that's the thing. It's like that ideas just come to you. and I'm not sure whether I have that in me. Maybe, I don't know. I've never really thought about it. There are definitely tunes out there that I've been like, oh, I would love to hear it like this kind of way. But yeah, that is something on my mind because, you know, I'm kind of at that stage where people are kind of wanting that from me before I can kind of get any higher on the bill. Because at the minute, I'm still quite low on the bill and I would love to get higher. So that is definitely something on the cards for me. But that's the thing. But once again, this goes back to, you know, history and what a DJ actually is and how that's evolved these days. You know, like DJing to me is being a really good selector, being a really good crate digger, finding the right tune for the right time. I think that's all really important as a DJ, you know, and how do you separate DJ from producer? You know, whereas these days it's very much like they come hand in hand.
Yeah.
So once again, the landscape has changed. Yeah, I don't really know many DJs, like any of the higher DJs that don't bring out their own tracks, you know.
It's seen as part of the progression though, isn't it? It's almost like if you're good enough to be able to put 2 or 3 songs together 50 times or however many times you do it in a row, then you're good enough to create your own music. I don't necessarily subscribe to that view personally, but because I mean, obviously I do a lot of one and very little of the other.
Yeah.
The difference between having ideas and getting to the point where I've produced this idea to how it sounds in my head to a satisfactory level, that's a tough road, as you said. But the thing with it is that if you have the drive to do it, if you have the desires to do it, if you have the mind to do it, you'll find a way.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, it would be great if I could get there. Yeah, no, producing, it's definitely on the cards. Just got to do it. It's got to bite the bullet and just don't be silly.
Yes, definitely. And I'm sure everyone listening to this will agree. But what you have done is you helped me remember one of the things I wanted to do with every single show. Someone asked me to start putting some musical recommendations into the show, but rather than me do it, I'm going to ask you to do it.
Oh God, musical recommendations?
Now, that doesn't have to necessarily be something that you are what I'm loving right now. It could be the first song that comes to your head, maybe the songs from either sets over the weekend that really blew. Or...
So I play a lot of techno and house music, so I kind of play a really weird, broad kind of case of music. So in terms of recommendations, okay, I can recommend an artist who I've absolutely loved. Her name is Mara. It's spelled Maara. If you like techno music, queer music, and a little bit eclectic, I would say that she's the DJ for you. Oh God, I don't even know how to explain it to you. I saw her at Gotwood and it was genuinely a life-changing experience. Well, it's like, you know, sometimes you go to festivals and you go to gigs and you're like, oh, that was a really good, like, that was fun, that was good. But like, when I saw her, I literally had like an out-of-body experience. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, she has literally put the fire under my ass to be a better DJ. And that doesn't happen very often for me. So, like, the whole time, all of our friends were just like, I quit. I can't be a DJ anymore. Like, she clearly knows where to look for tunes. I have no idea where to look for tunes. And I think most of her set was actually just her tracks anyway, or like edits that she had done or whatever, because we couldn't Shazam like any song, you know, when doing like the secret Shazam behind the back, like trying to be secretive about it. But like, honestly, like every track was amazing and all the blends were great. So I would highly recommend Mara if you're into that. My favorite party jam would be anything by Kylie Minogue, of course. Yeah, I mean, I think it works for a pre-party. I think it works for an after-party. I think it works for anything. The one track that I keep playing at the minute, oh goodness, I'm just trying to think back on my sets. I try not to make all my sets the same, you see, just because, like I said, it's that whole thing of like you're only getting booked for an hour and a bit rather than like the residency type of style. When I was playing the more residency type of style, I did get away with a lot more repetition, I would say, than I do now. I'm just trying to think of, God, you really put me on the spot.
I mean, that's kind of not what I was trying to do. I was thinking maybe if there was a memory of a song in particular, but it...
I mean, memories, I think there's memories to every song that you know, especially the big ones. I mean, I think, a big one for me would be Vision by Word Life. So Word Life are like my mates from back in Australia, and it was the first song I ever played to a crowd. So I think that one's a really important one if you ever want to look it up. It's a great party jam. I think I still play it to this day, and the first time I played to a crowd was back in like 2017, 2018. So it's it's stood the test of time. I think the other song that I would say is We Magnify His Name by Floor Plan, just because of like, I've never heard that kind of music before where it was like techno and gospel. And, I think while I play techno music, and techno at the minute is quite white, we cannot deny the fact that techno was born out of Detroit and Black culture. So for me, like, anything by those kind of people is a really important part of what I would say that I do. Robert Hood is an actual icon. And honestly, I don't get, this is the thing, I don't really get like starstruck by DJs. I try not to, because like they're just, if it was Mara, I think I'd absolutely fangirl. I would. But Floor Plan was the only two people I've ever met where I literally was like, holy shit, like I've really met like really special people, and they really are godly people as well. Like, genuinely, that was another religious experience for me. I saw them at Defected in Printworks, and I met them backstage, and honestly, I didn't even know what to say to them, because I was just like, you guys are just so important, and like to what I do. Like, Robert Hood is literally like super important in all of that kind of world. So it's just, so.
How did they take it?
I mean, I didn't really say much. I just basically was like, "Hi, I love you. Goodbye." Don't want to take up your time.
You said all of that other stuff in your head.
Yeah.
Oh
no. Yeah, it was basically like that. I didn't say a fucking word. I was like, "Oh no, I can't." But deep down inside, I just knew how important they were to like what I do. It's interesting because I don't really talk about that kind of stuff, like culture and all these things online that kind of affect me and affect other people, just because I think that there are more, I've always said this about this, that like I think there's more intelligent people that will be able to articulate these kind of things better than I ever could. So sometimes I don't really post online like how I feel about certain things, or culture and Black culture in music, women in music, me being a person of color in music, all these kind of issues that are really important to me, but I just don't really like. It's not something that I discuss online, but I am happy to discuss in person. But I think it's interesting how if you do start to put those things online, you'd be interested. It's quite fascinating to see the kind of responses that people come up with, because like I've had my fair share of I would say like unwanted attention. Like I did like a live stream for Size back in the day, and like some of the comments were like, she's not even DJing. I thought this was a DJ stream. Like, just, I mean, I know that like men get it as well, but it's always the think of like, oh, it's just a girl DJ. Like,
assumption.
Yeah.
There's always that you aren't doing it, but you are doing it.
And it just, so sometimes it does make me sad, but it's one of them. It's like, if I didn't have some sort of talent, I wouldn't be doing what I do, and like, I mean, like for any DJs that actually want to succeed out there, I would say that networking is a big part of it. Like, you can practice all you want, but being in the right spaces and being a part of your community is a really big thing, and don't be fake about it, because like I can tell when someone's being fake friends with myself. It should be genuinely nice and be genuinely curious, and like if you want to play and be out there, then be genuine, but always treat people with respect. That's what I would say. But it's just one of them.
No, that's really good advice, actually. I think, because sometimes when you say to people, go out, join a community, find some people who you like, people can approach it in the right way and in the wrong way. And like you say, if you're coming at it where it's very transparent that you are just joining these people to try and get something out of them, then they're going to see through it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you really can see through it. It's very obvious, and I don't like it when it's just like, don't try and just I don't know, there's just a way you go about it, I would say, and don't be too full on at the start. Just, become friends first. That's kind of like the main thing. I mean, when I started DJing in Liverpool, I was basically bartending at Kitchen Street, and to be honest, I didn't even know how to pour a pint. So like my boyfriend at the time threw his party at Kitchen Street, and he was kind of like, look, my girlfriend needs a job, help. And then through that, I was just like, hey, by the way, like I DJ, here's a mix. And then it was like, right, let's just give you an opportunity. And then obviously I did a really good job. And then that was kind of like the rest is history kind of vibe. And then it's interesting because, people come to see you play and then they're like, oh yeah, actually that was really great. And I think this is what I try to say about DJs. And I know that people put the set times up, but I kind of disagree with that because, yes, you want to come and see the headliner who's always on at 1:00 at the peak time of the set. But it's like, what about the person who's warming up or closing? You don't actually know. You could have the most amazing DJ and the most amazing selector come and play for like the first hour when no one's going to show up and you've just missed an amazing set.
Yeah.
And so I don't really particularly agree with set times being advertised. I know that it's obviously a thing, but because, while these amazing people are, these amazing careers, like, Peggy Gou, she's amazing. And, they always play like peak time sets and they always play the hits. But, it is the people who are warming up who probably need your support the most, I would say.
I think the important things on that to remember for people is you're all part of the same night.
Yes.
You're all part of producing the same vibe. Like, for example, however great the headliner is, if you go on an early set and absolutely trash it, then it's going to make a difference. People
100%.
are important. And also, all of those people, all of the headliners that you are paid to see, all of them started by doing those kind of sets, by doing warm-ups. Everybody started that way. Everybody.
Yeah.
So you are kind of missing out on maybe future stars exactly like yourself.
Yeah. Oh God, a future star. That would be nice. Oh, imagine. Oh, it's so funny because like obviously we're in the Anfield rap room, but I know that like is it like Sean and all that? They use this room, don't they? Yes. Oh my gosh. Because obviously Lauren Lowe Sung, I would say that she's a Liverpool legend as well. Oh, so yeah, I mean she's amazing. I look up to her as a DJ. She's she plays minimal music in a way that like I've never heard before. So, and this is the other thing. I think like when I say communities, I think it's really important to go out and experience the nights that you really like and understanding like how these people curate their nights. Like if you look at Lauren Lowe Sung and she does Low Life and her party, how she curates that, go and find the music that you like, find the people who are making those kind of events happen in your city, and then going to those nights. And then, that's kind of how you can find the right communities and how you can push yourself in the right way, because that's kind of what I did. And then with all the techno stuff, I was just in the right rooms with the right people. I mean, of course, on top of that, all the DJing and stuff and all the extra bits. Yeah. But yeah, you
got to let the music lead you. Yeah. What you like and the places that play the things you like, the DJs that play the things you like, go there more often. And get involved in that way. I think, it can sound like we're kind of mapping out some kind of big manifesto of how to become a DJ, but the fact is that it's all come from, like I say, organic place of I want to see more of this, I want to feel more of this, I want to hear more of this. Where can I go?
Obviously, like this is not like a play-by-play of like how you can be a famous DJ. Like this is just how I've been able to get as far as
that's Fatboy Slim in the next edition.
Oh man, imagine! I mean, Fatboy Slim's career. Like, I don't think this is the thing I was saying to someone else. Is like, I don't know whether we'll ever have another Fatboy Slim, another Prodigy. Like, we're not going to have those kind of stars, in our day. I mean, obviously, like people probably like Peggy Gou come close, but I wouldn't even say, I mean, it's just different.
It's the longevity though, isn't it? Yes. It's not just about the stardom. And I mean, because obviously like Fred again, like again at Glastonbury, they were all over and in the big major spaces as well as the small underground spaces. But to be Fatboy Slim, you've got to be doing it for 30 years?
Yep.
So the ability for people to cling to what you do and what you come to want to see you and still be able to be current, because he's never been out of step,
No.
but at the same time, it's never been like he's chasing trends.
He's just Fatboy Slim.
Yeah.
To be honest, like, this is going to be a funny one, but like, I basically, at any after party, my go-to is actually to watch him on Brighton Beach. So like, my YouTube search channel is basically just like Fatboy Slim, Brighton Beach, like back in the 90s. Oh my God. A party like that will never happen ever again.
No,
ever
friends
again.
of mine were at those.
Oh my God.
You never let me forget it. Ever.
That's like legendary. I've watched it a lot.
Hi, George, if you're listening. Okay, so before we run out, I was going to say run out of time, but I'm setting the time in. But more of the things that we like to talk to everyone about. So from your career, what has been your favourite gig to play?
Oh God, I think I have more. Oh God, I've got 3. I think.
I have 3.
Yeah. So I think snowbombing was obviously an iconic one for me, because I'd never played to a crowd, let alone a festival, and then all of a sudden here I am playing in Austria on a ski slope. I mean, I met Idris Elba. Like, you can't. That was the other. Like, that's the other thing. I opened for Idris Elba the second day or something like that, because they were like, "Oh, do you just want to open for him?" And I was like, "Do I just want to open for him?" Yes. It wasn't part of the schedule, but it happened. So that was obviously an iconic one for me. Second one would be Bicep at Blackstone Warehouse. I was obviously the opener, and there wasn't that many people there, but not many people can say that they've supported Bicep. That's a pretty big one for me. And I think the third one was actually Boiler Room After Party in Liverpool at WAV. It was a solid 3 or 4 hours worth of just really banging techno. And it was, I think everyone in the room was really there with me, which you can't really plan for. And no matter what I played, they were just really trusting that and just were there. And a lot of people were that were there from the beginning were there all the way through to the end. And you can't, as a DJ, you can't ask for something better than that. And I was in room 2 as well. So where room 2 is in the WAB, you kind of have to go around a bend, and it's closed doors and stuff. So it's not the main room. So you really have to go and search and find this room in order to be there. So I think that was quite good, because I could really punch it, which I don't normally get to do as a warm-up DJ. So it was good that I could kind of take it wherever I wanted it to, just like my residency. So I, come full circle a little bit there. So yeah.
I love that. And they're all very different as well. It's like there's that first kind of shock of, wow, this is what it means. And then it's obviously playing with people you really respect and idolize. And then there's just the feeling from the crowd. And I think that's probably the one that most of us, whoever you are, wherever you've played, when you get that, and like you say, when you know a crowd have come with you, it's the most fun.
It is.
Honestly, I feel like I'm a conductor.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's great.
I can't wait for that to happen again soon. I'm actually not sitting there thinking about all the times it happened previously. So
yeah, it's great.
Okay, so my other question I asked to everyone is, if this was going to be your final set, I'm not going to say for whatever reason, because of what happened in the last episode, go out and listen if you want to, what would be the last 3 songs that you want to end?
Oh my God, this reminds me of Tiga's podcast, Last Party on Earth. I don't know whether you, that reminds me of that. And I was thinking about that the other day, what would I even play? Oh my God.
Well, you need to go back into your mind, open that door and look inside and see what was in there.
Oh man, I think one of them would be Rufus Du Sol. What is it called? Oh no, these songs are not going to come to my mind. Give me a moment. I'm gonna have to look it up, because this is while I'm doing this, I'll tell you. I actually don't. Oh, Inner Bloom, Rufus Inner Bloom. It's I don't know how to explain it, but anytime he played in Australia, everyone just loves it. There's this massive breakdown that lasts for 2 minutes, and it just kind of doesn't really make sense, because you're supposed to have this huge, I think everyone's kind of waiting for the drop, and because the the breakdown's so long. Everyone's just kind of waiting in anticipation for this drop to happen. And when it finally happens, everyone's like, oh my God, I think I cried listening to it for the first time, like out loud. So yeah, that. And then I think, is it Errol Alkin? Give me 2 seconds. See, this is what I mean, but I have thought about it, but not really.
So you're not going into Spotify and looking up a playlist of all my absolute emergency bangers?
So there's a song called Forever Dolphin Love.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's the Errol Alkin remix, Connor Moccasin. That's probably one of them. And this is the thing, I play techno music, but here I am like not playing techno music. And then obviously like the last one would definitely be We Magnify His Name by Floor Plan. I think that would be those 3 songs would 100% need to be there, because I think Floor Plan for the history, Inner Bloom for the Aussie part of me, and I think that Errol Alkin remix of Forever Dolphin Love is just beautiful. So I think if it was really the end, that would be
that would be your musical statement to leave it.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Nice and gentle. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so one last thing. Do you have any gigs lined up? Is there anywhere our listeners can hear you?
Yes. The next gig I've got coming up, I'm going to be playing at Kitchen Street, supporting Melody, if you know who he is. Which is an amazing opportunity. And I'm also playing after him, so I can pretty much punch it to the max. So that's going to be a really good one. So 11th of August, tickets are out now if you do want to buy one. But yeah, just hit me up on Instagram as well if you want to find out more. But yeah.
Fantastic. Well, 11th of August, what day of the week is it?
Friday. You're busy being a DJ too.
Yes. Unfortunately, yes, Friday is off limits for all other fun things. But this is one of those times where I'm telling people not to come and go see me. Go and see Nikki. Nikki, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, Mo, thanks so much for having me. It's been really lovely.
Loved it too.
Yeah.